Thank you very much, Natasha. Everyone, thank you very much for availing yourselves on this prestigious event. As you can see on the background, these are just slides that you're going to be seeing throughout the entire webinar. We welcome you on behalf of the Golden Key, our president. Oh, my apologies with that. This is the program that we're going to be following throughout this entire webinar. Firstly, it was the joining time that we allowed each and everyone else to join. We're gonna receive the opening and welcoming from the GK President Udi Makato, and then from then, it is when we're gonna start with the business of the day. It's gonna go in this order: the B.Ed faculty, the Humanities faculty, and the Theology faculty. May I please do clarify that, as you can see here, there are gonna be two Q&A sessions. The first Q&A session will be for the B.Ed faculty and the Humanities faculty. And then the second Q&A is going to be for the Theology faculty. And then after, we are to have the closing from Golden Key President Udi Makato. Please do use the chat box for all your questions. Please do indicate if a question is directed to a specific speaker or anything whatsoever. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to business. Dimakato, over to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Goldies and esteemed guests. Welcome to the first part of a two-part series, Conversations with a Professional. The idea of hosting a two-part series came after the Northwest University Vanderbilt chapter realized that there is a gap between students and professionals in relevant fields. As students, we often have ideological structures that create a picture of how our future workspace would look like. We don't actually conduct the research that is due to actually see what happens in our careers, in the careers that we chose, especially in fields where practicals are not offered. This series is an opportunity for students to interact with professionals who are already in their field of study. This is to give students clarity, certainty, and more information about the field that they're already preparing to enter. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to welcome you. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the first speaker of the night, KARABO MASHILOANE for the B.Ed faculty.
Over to you, sir. Your mic is on mute, sir. Could you please just on your mic?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. As you can see from the background, my name is KARABO MASHILOANE, and I am a qualified teacher. I work at a primary school here in Meatin. So I would like to thank the Golden Key for the invitation. Thank you for considering me and believing that I am worthy of this invitation. So I was sent questions beforehand to prepare. They said that these are questions that they believe that they can be useful towards someone who is yet to go to the professional workplace or to the field. So I will be addressing these questions, and I hope everyone will hear me. I hope I'll be clear as possible as I can be, because I've been told that I am fast when I talk. I'll try to be as slow as possible. So now, the first question was that what has been my experience in the education field? So now, to share my experience, for me, the experience has started as difficult as possible, because now trying to find employment, trying to get a teaching post, it was a bit difficult for me. listen, I tried everything. I tried the district, I tried taking surveys, emails and everything. It was just not happening for me because I don't know, or is it because I had high hopes or my expectations were a bit too high, because I was hoping that I will get employed immediately last year after I got my confirmation letter that confirms that no, I have my degree. So I went to quite a few interviews. Went for my first interview around when I was still writing my exams. I went for an interview. I didn't get it. After writing exams, I went for another interview and most of you might know it as Park Ridge. It's just near our school, near Pick and Pay, Park Ridge Primary School. I went for an interview there. I did not get it. So in short, my December was a bit hectic because I had hopes that I would be, by December, I'll know that I am employed and everything. So that did not happen as planned. So that's why I'm saying my experience of, as I was starting, it was a bit difficult or challenging. But then now that I have employment, now that I am employed, working, it's it's nice. It's nice, good, nice. Yeah, it's nice because now I am getting used to it. I'm getting used to the fact that I wake up every morning, I go teach, and with me, I believe that being a teacher needs to come from within, because now you can't wake up in the morning and be like, okay, I am going to work, and I wish I wouldn't be doing this. But then for me, it's nice, man. It's nice. As much as I was thinking that it's gonna be difficult and everything, but then it's nice now because I I've already built a relationship with my learners. I've built a relationship with the people that I'm working with. So it's nice. So in short, my working experience or my experience in the education field so far, it has been nice since I got a job. Yeah. So now, but then we need to, one thing that I was not told before I went to the field, it's the work politics. Work politics, and it works everywhere. It's not only in the education department, but it's everywhere. Work politics. When I say work politics, I mean that when you get to a workplace, there's people who do not get along with others. Maybe you see Mem Ndawung and Mem Brown they are not getting along. So somehow when you are new there, you will somehow find yourself in the middle of that, having to choose between, do I go with this group or do I go with that group? As much as neutral as you want to be, but it's not possible. Somehow you will find yourself being in this group. But then so far I've tried to be like, okay, what has worked for me so far with regards to the work politics is that I mind my own business. I go there because I know that I'm there for employment. I'm not there to make a friendship and everything. If a friendship comes, then cool, it's fine. But then that's not my sole purpose for me being there. So my work ethics has to come to place. So let me go to the next question before, because I feel like I was striking that one. Then the second question is that the teacher-learner relationship should benefit the classroom discussion is, to what extent should the relationship be exercised outside the perimeters of the classroom? Okay, now, my fellow B.Ed students, or rather colleagues, we are familiar with the 7 roles of a teacher. Now, one of those roles is that a teacher is a parent. So now, when you regard yourself as a parent, it means that you're supposed to be an example to these kids. Now, the classroom relationship is you are teaching their learners, you are a teacher, they must respect you and everything. But then, they must respect you, and because you are the teacher and everything. So now, when you go outside the classroom or outside the school premises, that's when you do not relax. That's when your job starts actually. Because now, if you're someone who drinks to go out parties and everything, you cannot go to parties at a club or a pub near where you are teaching. Because now, remember, you are an example to these kids. So if they see you drinking and everything, they'll think, okay, it means that this is cool because my teacher is doing it. Remember, you are a role model to them. For example, I'll give an example, a practical example with this situation that we have now, the COVID-19 situation. Now, we are supposed to be teaching wearing our mask, and they must wear their mask. So sometimes this mask, as we all know, sometimes you can't even breathe properly and everything. So I see when I take off my mask and talk while I don't have my mask on, they tend to do the same thing. They take off their mask. Then when I ask them, why are you guys taking off your mask? Because you know that we're having the situation of coronavirus and everything. They're like, Ma, say, you also don't have your mask on. So we think it's the right thing. So it's their term. So the relationship outside the school premises should be a bit, it should be a professional way as well. And also, you need to build a relationship with your learners inside the classroom and outside the classroom, whereby they feel comfortable to approach you with anything. You understand? Besides them approaching you with the classroom activities and everything, they must be able to, if they have problems, they can be like, say, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you help me with this? So yeah, that as far as I can go with that one. Then the next question is, how do you feel about new teachers, new and young teachers coming on board? Okay, now what I can say with regards to that one, I can say that I think it needs to be balanced, because we have old teachers and then we also have new teachers. I think it needs to be balanced in the sense that now, since we are in the 21st century with the fourth industrial revolution taking place and everything, so now with our classrooms having like advanced technologies, when I say advanced technology, I'm talking about boards, preparing your slides, using computers, using your laptops to prepare slides and everything. So that as young teachers, we are equipped when it comes to that. We are taught on how to do it. Besides being taught, we are used to gadgets and everything. We are used to laptops. You understand? So now with them, they are not necessarily used to that, because now I work with a lot of old people. And when I say old people, I said as old as 59 to 60 to 62 people. So now they often come to me and ask that I must type their question papers for them and blah, 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 blah. And that does not mean that they are bad for the system, for the education system. Hence why I'm saying that it needs to be balanced, in a sense that now they are experienced. Because one of the teachers once said that she has an experience that is older than me, meaning that she started teaching before I was even born. In fact, before I was even conceived, or thought my parents thought about having me. So that experience plays a big role. So now that's why I say I think it must be balanced between them being there as old people with their experience, and us new people being here with our little experience that we got from practicals, which does not really count, but it counts because now you know how to handle the classroom. Then with our knowledge of computers, technologies, and everything, so we need to balance so that we can reach our common goal. Okay. The fourth question is, what other careers can one venture to with their B.Ed degree? Okay, this one I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Now let's start in the school premises or school system, or I don't know how to put it, but then school system. Now you get there as a teacher. A teacher is a post-level 1. A teacher, I am a post-level 1 because I'm just a teacher. I have no other what you call okay, English one. But then yeah, I'm just a teacher. I am post-level 1. Then the second position in the school is post-level 2. Post-level 2 is your HOD. Now, what do HOD do? HOD, they deal with the curriculum. They deal with the management of the curriculum, meaning that I report to my HOD. So now, since I am teaching natural science and technology, I do that. But then I do not set question paper. I set question papers, but I do not give the NAS question paper before my HOD has saw them. Then we have the deputy principal, which is post level 3, if not mistaken, the deputy principal. Then from there, there's the principal. So now, with the education department and education system, it's different from other work environments and everything, because here, the experience work more than the qualification. When I say the experience work more than the qualification, I mean that you will have someone who has a diploma in education, then there's someone who has an honors in education. Now with me, with my honors in education, and I only have 2 years working experience, and this one with a diploma. she has 10 years working experience, chances are she's going to be the ones who get employed because she has experience. She knows how to deal with children. She has been in the field longer than I am, regardless of my qualification, my master's, and my honors. That's, yeah, the school department. Then when we go outside the education, the school premises or school environment, we have your educational psychologist, we have your educational law of education lawyers, we have what you call it's your psychologist, curriculum developers, subject specialists. With that, the experience works, but then now that I only have my degree, but then if I get my honors in, for example, say, education psychology, then I can be a education psychologist, meaning that I deal with, for example, now learners and teachers, they are they not only say depressed, but then this situation coronavirus has touched people and everything, because now you get reports that in so and so school, learners, some learner died and everything. That does something to learners. Now there must be that KARABO who has a degree in psychology, then can assist with that. So with educational psychology, educational law and everything, you need to have a qualification, not just your B.Ed degree, but a qualification on top of that. Now question number 5. I'm almost done. Has it been a good transitional experience from being a student to being a full-time teacher? Okay, I wouldn't say it's a good or rather bad. It's fine, guys. It's fine because with me, I do not have like the privilege of saying I am just teaching and I'm a teacher and everything. I am a teacher and also a learner, meaning that since I have my honors, I have to try and balance between my honors and my teaching, which is doable. It's difficult, but it's doable. It's difficult. It's doable. But then again, with moving, it's different. It's different because now when you are at school, you have the only responsibilities that you have is you submitting assignments, you attending classes and everything. But then now I report to a principal, which is my boss. So if the school starts at 7:30, I must be there before 7:30. As compared to when I'm at varsity, the class starts at 7:30. I can get there at 8:00 because I know that Prof. WC or so whosoever is soft, so I can get there at any time, or I can even miss a class. It's fine. But then with the work environment, you can't miss work without a valid reason. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, so my advice would be that people who want to work and study, it's doable. You can do it. And also because before I started doing my honors and working, I was advised that I must not do honors full time because I won't handle the pressure. But so far I am handling the pressure. I don't know when second semester approaches what's going to happen. So I am moving to question number 6. How do you make the content that you teach relatable to learners? Now, my trick, that something that has always worked for me, is that I try to use examples that learners can see, meaning there's something that is within the classroom, or rather something that it will be easy for them to imagine. For example, last week I was teaching grade 7 natural science. We're dealing with solids, liquid, and gas. Now, I made a practical example that, okay, now when you buy an ice cream from ShopRite or Pick and Pay whatsoever, that 2-liter ice cream, you put it inside the fridge, it freezes. When it has frozen, we call that as a solid. Then now, when you take it out the fridge and you open the ice cream, there's that smoky thing that comes out, which is gas. Then I told them that when you take that ice cream and put it outside in the sun, then it melts, which is liquid. So with that, it means that it's easy for them to imagine that, and if they can imagine it and they can picture it in their minds, it's not going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy for them to forget. Rather, it's going to be easy for them to remember what we're talking about, even on an exam or on a test. Because I am worried that I am speaking fast, but it's fine. Question number 7. It's only 9 questions. Then now I'm on question number 7. Now, question number 7 was that has there been a wow, has there been a point where I felt intimidated by teachers or by learners. Now, with teachers, I'll start with teachers. With teachers, I feel like I have felt intimidated, né? And I feel like these teachers, when you are new in that workplace, né? I feel like it's everywhere. When you are new in a workplace, they try to intimidate you, most probably because they feel intimidated by you, because a new teacher, what are you going to bring? So now they feel intimidated by you, then they try to intimidate you. But then I have had that a lot of times, because I started teaching at the high school from January to March at the primary school. So between these two schools, I've seen the same thing, that there are people when you get there, they try to intimidate you, or they think that you are there to take their jobs or something like that. I don't know what's their mind like, but then as time goes by, they become free to you. Then the other one, I had a experience with Elena. I will try to be as brief as possible with this story, because it's a very long story. I had an altercation with Elena, guys. So now, a physical, let me just say, a physical altercation that I managed to solve. So this boy was trying to fight this girl, grade 9. He was trying to fight this girl. So I went there to try and diffuse the situation there. Then this guy, okay, English gone again, but then Answagadi was Shine, and he pushed me aside. And so now, if there was someone, if I thought at that point that I should not react, but then I rather took the girl and put her at the front, so that that one who is John Cena or Batista or so ever can stay there alone, and I'm not going to react. So I left the situation like that, and I continued with my lesson. Then this boy, because I think it's because I did not react, or he was testing me of some sort. Definitely he came in, he apologized for doing that, and he said he will not do it again. So now that's the situation that we're putting ourselves in, guys. So now, for example, if you are becoming a teacher, you should know that there are situations that are going to be like that. The learners are going to try and be physical with you, but then you need to have a technique on how you can deal with the situation. So yeah, that's it. Then number 8, do you believe that most teachers are passionate about being teachers, or they just doing it for the sake that teaching has a guaranteed job or whatsoever? Guys, newsflash, ne? I'm sorry to burst your bubbles if you think, if your mindset is like that. If you think that teaching is there's a job guaranteed for you, newsflash, it's not like that anymore. Maybe it used to be like that 5 years back or 10 years back, but then now it's not like that. I have people that I was in class with them, people who are excelling, people who have cum laude, people with distinctions, but they are not working at the moment. So it's no longer like that. It's what you can. And another thing that works, it's luck. I feel like it's luck, because now you find yourself unemployed and you have your distinctions and everything, thinking that you have worked hard, meaning it's going to be simple for me to get a job. But then anyway, it's no longer like that anymore. So I think my advice with that, you should try as many techniques as possible. So now, what has worked for me? I think this one is very important. Rather than everything that I said, this one is very important. For someone who's doing their final year, or someone who's sitting at home who's not working, what has worked for me is that now we have different districts in a country. So now make sure that you distribute your CVs as many districts as possible. Distribute your CVs everywhere. Before you do that, make sure the CV is nice, is brief, and it's neat with all the documents. Then distribute that CV to all the districts that you can access. And then 1, 2, do door. When I say door to door, go to all the schools that you can access, drop your CV. With that, you're going to be that one is very difficult, because you find maybe the school admins, they're there and they don't want to take your CV, or they take your CV, but then chances are, if the admin takes your CV, there's a huge possibility that they won't give the principal the CV, because I don't know, but then yeah, it's just that it's there, it happens. So they won't give your CV to them. So rather, when you get to a school, you say, hi, can I please see the principal? Then they'll ask you, it's about what? It's with regards to what? And you say, it's agent or something like that, just try to make an excuse. Because if you say I'm here to bring my CV, they will say, okay, just leave your CV there. And chances are your CV will not see the hands of the principal. Yeah, that's what. 1, all district. 2, door to door, go to schools, distribute to CVs. Number 3, this is how I got my job. Get a list with all the schools in Gauteng. That's how I did. I got a list with all the schools in Gauteng. Then you send your CV via the school's email, as many CVs as possible. Because I remember with me, what I did, I started sending CVs via email. It was around 1 a.m. and I only slept around 5 a.m. because I was sending CVs, took a break and sent CVs. Like, it was like, my email was like, when I went to my emails and the send button, emails, application for a job, application, and I did not know if they are hiring or what. I was just came like, then likely I got a call the following day from one of the principals. That's how I got my job. So now make sure that you just put your CV to the districts, distribute your CV door to door, and send emails to the schools. Then you might be lucky. Then what I'm almost done. The last question. What would you tell a first-year KARABO who is just starting or about to graduate? Okay, dear KARABO MASHILOANE, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself in China, because it's a jungle out there. It's a jungle out there. It's not as easy as you think. Because now someone once said, adulting is a trap. I saw it. I saw that adulting is actually a trap, because there's a lot of things that are happening, and finding a job on its own, it's a trap. Or getting that degree on its own, it's difficult. Then trying to get a job, it's also hard. So I would say that prepare yourself, work as hard as possibly as you can, work smart, and make sure that you work as if I can put, I'm sorry about that, but then because now as an employer, what I've seen so far, employers, they want to see if you can be an asset. Is an asset, yeah, an asset to them, meaning that are you going to bring change to the school? Are you going to be someone who is important to the school? Are you someone that they need in the school? So now make sure that when you get to a school, you work as possibly as you can, Monday to Sunday, it's fine. For example, I work from Monday to Saturday. It's a primary school, but I work from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday, I give extra classes. I'm not getting paid for that. I'm not getting money for transport for that. I take transport out of my own pocket, but then because I am trying to create a name for myself, so that it's not easy for the principal to let me go, but then to see the principal that they actually need me. So that's my advice. You should always do that. And yeah, I think I am done. I hope I did not speak fast. Yeah, thank you guys. That's all I have. I guess if there are questions, I will answer questions. Any questions or inquiry that you guys might have, I am going to answer that. Thank you. Patrick.
I'm here, sir. I'm here. I'm pretty sure that mouthful of things that you've said, a whole lot of people have been able to grasp a thing or two, judging by the call I'm receiving here, even though Islungs Balega Aksenaye.
That one is a problem, but then it's fine.
Yeah, well, before we could go to Q&A, we had Mr. Nkosi Duncan from the Humanities faculty. However, I heard, I received some intel that he's having problems with logging in. So
no, I'm sorted.
Oh, yes, sorted, sir.
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Then let me just sort out your presentation here so that you can be able to start speaking. Well, thank you very much, Mr. MASHILOANE. Please do allow me to give Mr. Nkosi the platform, and then we'll go for the first Q&A session. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether you can see me or not, but as long as you can hear me, right?
Yes, we
I can see. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I wouldn't have missed it for the world to come and service my people at the Golden Key. I'm sorry that I'm in the car because I'm traveling from Free State, so I decided to park just nearby so that I can actually keep my word and be in this session. I don't know what is it that I'm expected to say first, because I was told that there'll be an interaction whereby the students would ask questions, and then after that, I'll be able, based on the experiences that I've faced, that is. So Patrick, can you please just guide me in that regard?
Apologies with that regards. I'm pretty sure our communication got lost in transition, because with the document that I sent you, it was supposed to be a list of questions from students. However,
Okay.
however, what I will request from you, sir, is that from your own experience within the field of governance and politics, what are the hints and gestures that you can give to undergraduates currently, and what heads up can you give them, basically? Can you hear me, sir?
In everything that you do, you should, and it will also assist you to make sure that you choose the correct path for yourself. You know, when it comes to humanities, it's not that much aligned with how the technological world is now changing. And in fact, this is the most important, as nothing can happen without humans, you know? Even the advancement of technology happens because there's humans involved. I for one, let me just share my personal story. Initially, I wanted to be a president of South Africa. I said that, okay, in order for me to be a president of South Africa, to study economics. That was me, an 18-year-old Duncan at the time, saying that, okay, I'll study economics, then at the later stage, join into politics. And then after joining into politics, hopefully things will be better. And I can become this president that I want to be, because we were so inspired by the former president, Thabo Mbeki. But only to find out that as we attend these, what do they call it? The learners seminars, or those things, the workshops that tell you which career path you want to follow and what is it that you want to do. I then realized that actually I can study politics from the word go. And then when I got to varsity, I thought, okay, this is actually what I always wanted, and I studied it. And up until I did my my master's currently, and it has not been an easy journey, you know, to even get into politics, because I know that most of other young people, as I'm young myself, would actually realize that I was affiliated with a certain organization, which is a political party, and at the time it was so much a political party. So I'm proud and sad to say that I've lost 2 SRC elections in my pursuit to want to become a leader on our campus. And things unfolded, and I then became the president of Golden Key. But that taught me the most important lesson, to say that in order for you to survive in humanities, you need to create practical experience for yourself. And that's where I saw Guti, okay, as much as I'm studying politics and public management, but I would not get into these fields without actually associating myself with the practice. And there's those who have been in the field for some time. I even went to an extent of wanting to volunteer in people's offices, that is political offices, where I can learn in terms of what is really happening on the ground. And that did not happen. And not here to lie to people and say that, no, if you have studied politics and you knock on those doors, it's easier for you to get in. You know, it becomes difficult for you even when you say that, can I work for free so that I can even get experience? And then at the later stage, maybe I'll get employment or an internship. It becomes very difficult. but just not so to avoid wasting time and maybe giving those who had asked questions to do that. Let me rather say that it's important in each and everything that you do to think and have a second option, because humanities is not only a faculty that is intended or subjected to end after your first degree. This is the way it is structured. It's something that is designed so that you can finish at your PhD, and you can go all around. You'll never find an individual that has masters in whatever humanities and struggle to find a job. Yes, there might be a few because of our economic situation, but what I would advise the undergrads is that, can you stop thinking of the conditions at home to say that, hey, at home there's no one that is working, so I want to finish my undergrad and then go and assist at home. You need to study, do your honors, do your masters, and if possible, then do your PhD. By the time you're doing your masters, I think that there'll be opportunities that are lined up for you or which are open for you. But most importantly, and I think I've emphasized this more than enough, be practical as much as possible. And in this case, I'm speaking about political science in particular and public administration, as those are the things that I've done. And I think that that would actually open some few doors for you. Patrick, I think we can allow for some questions, or even better, if you've got those questions near you, you can just pose them to me and then I can answer them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Duncan. I just want to remind everyone that you can use the Q&A chat box to ask your question, whether to KARABO or to Mr. Duncan. Mr. Duncan, one of the questions that was posed because they'd seen your bio on our marketing posts, they just wanted to ask, how were you able to juggle being with student life and being a student, holding leadership position, and also juggling them with your academics?
For me, I don't know whether this will be relevant to other people, but for me, poverty made me to be able to juggle, because I knew that this is the only way out for me. I knew that in order for me to be someone that is better in life, I need to make everything that I have work. And more than anything, again, my brother, it has to be time management, you know. The time that you spend with whatever that you love would eventually bear the fruits that you have planted, or this for the seed, so forth. So if indeed you want to be someone and you want a certain thing in life, you need to minimize the level of sleep that you have and focus on those things that are important. I don't remember if there's any person who became successful because he slept 12 hours a day, you know? So you need to know, okay, from 8 o'clock until 12, I'm working. Maybe from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock, I'm going to focus on my studies, you know? And don't allow an individual to come at 3 o'clock and say that, hey, Duncan or Patrick, please capper me to Pick and Pay, will be back. Because that person entirely has disturbed your entire program for the day. So it's important for you to actually stick to the time limits that you've set for yourself and follow it as it is. I think that will be very helpful, and it will make you juggle a lot of things. And a lot of people who are successful in terms of monetary value, financially wealthy, they'll tell you that they've got 7 or 8 streams of income that makes them to be millionaires. So you need to start it at a very young age so that you can multitask between whatever employment that you have and your academics or your hobbies and and so forth. Thank you.
Interesting. Another question that came through, it reads as follows: is the future the end of politics or the beginning of purified politics?
Well, that must be a question from a Golden Key student. It's quite interesting, and you can never, Patrick, you can never end politics. Politics is the beginning of everything that we have. You know, politics is the beginning of COVID. Let's talk about a simple thing that it's on our mind every day and that we can all connect with. For the mere fact that there's been a lot of theories in terms of COVID on how it actually harms those who are less fortunate as opposed to those who have money. You know, those are theories that you get there. Others saying that, no, China designed this particular virus so that they can get more economically stronger than the US, and that is why today they don't have as many cases as the rest of the world. So with the world moving forth, it means that there's a new era of politics, because politics is not only about liberation that we have faced in South Africa, but politics is about the social dynamics that happen every day. Politics is about the economic aspects that happen every day. In each and every working environment, there's politics. And I like what KARABO said when he spoke about the politics in his employment, in terms of the young and the old. And that is politics. And we should not classify politics as something that is out of our reach. Politics is our everyday life. Politics is your brother complaining that they bought you most expensive shoes than him. That is politics. And you need to defend and say that, no, they did not buy me this because I'm better, but I gave them a 500 rand so that they can top up on my original budget. So that is politics. And the minute we become involved in politics as young people, it's the more we'll be able to reason, it's the more we'll be able to think out of the box and shape our futures. And more than anything, a lot of people who are working corporate, because they were not exposed to this thing that is called politics. Remember, when you speak about corporate, you're speaking about financials, the economy and stuff. They face so much oppression than anyone else because they are being enslaved to make the profits for the company. But most of them, they cannot actually stand for their rights because they don't know what is it that, in terms of the law in corporate, what is it required of them, or what is it that they can actually do to make sure that the company does not mistreat them. Thank you very much.
Interesting. So just the last question before we could go to the Q&A session. This other question reads as follows: what is the future that you envisage for the people you represent?
Well, I've always made it clear, and I think that this is one thing that as young people we should always invest in, is that I want to be the master of social inequality. You know, if there's one thing that I would rather do, or I want to do so bad, is to make sure that the skewed inequality patterns that we have in our society are balanced out. You know, it's evident in our universities, it's evident in our everyday lives. Before I can even get my qualification, I need to worry about where will I get the food, where will I get the money for the accommodation, where will I get the money for the clothes to go to school. There's just so many things that I need to get worried about. While the same person at my same age, but who's more privileged, only worries about what is it that I'm going to study and how am I going to champion this module, you know? And that is one of the things that I feel that as an individual, if I can try and fight against social inequalities, whereby wealth is not white or business is not Indian and poverty is black, whereby everyone is actually on the same scale, you know, everyone takes decisions, and the decisions that you take will then hamper the future or hamper your children, not because we are born poor, but because you've made mistakes when you are given an opportunity. So for me, I think that the fairness needs to be there, the opportunities need to be there, not only for a selected few. And I'm fighting for that, my brother. That is what I think brought me into politics, to make sure that those who have been sidelined from the economy of our country and the world at large become included in this economy, and that they can be whatever that they choose to be. It should never be that you think that you need to be a teacher, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be a policeman, you need to be a politician to be successful. We need to dream beyond that. We need to dream to an extent that we are saying that we are pilots. We need to dream to an extent to say that we want to be CEOs, whether in world banks and so forth, you know? So that's what draws me into politics.
Interesting. So you're just drawing up a mouthful words there. Now we're just gonna go to the first Q&A session between you, Mr. Duncan, and Mr. KARABO MASHILOANE. I have 3 questions directed to KARABO, and I have 1 question directed to you. So just because you just finished talking now, sir, I'm gonna direct this question to you. It reads as follows. To Mr. Nkosi, your profile is very inspiring. Thanks for sharing your journey. How did you end up being a PR counselor, and what have you learned from it?
Thank you very much. You know, my journey to becoming a PR counselor is actually funny. I as you can see, I think in the profile it shows that I've went to study in Sweden with a very close friend of mine. We went to study there and then we came back late December. And at the back of our minds, we thought, you know what, now that we've got international qualifications, these companies or these institutions will headhunt us and things will be better. And that was not the case for majority of the 3 months that we got back. I normally say that I moved from Sweden to a back room in Bupilong, you know, where I would not even have electricity for majority of the day because the transformers that side are not okay because people are not paying electricity. So you can imagine the level of depression that I faced because I thought that coming back things would be better, only to find out coming back I would need to start afresh. So I said that, you know what, I'm not going to sit down and not do anything. And at the time before I left, I was also a junior lecturer at NWU. So you can imagine that I left an opportunity and I left. And when I came back, I had no job. I had nothing. I had to go and rent a room, Kokasi. And yeah, and that was my reality. And every morning, my brother, I woke up and I went to the activities of the party that I'm affiliated with, whether it's a branch meeting, whether it's a march, whether it's anything. I did events that can equip our young people because I believed that I don't need to have a job at the time. I said that I don't need to have a job in order for me to make a change because the minute I sit down and I don't do anything, that's the minute I'm throwing my life away. So that's how it started. And luckily, there was one of the guys in the council who resigned, who was the member of our party. There was another opening in Sidibeng district. So I applied for both and I went to interview for both. And that is the party process that we have, where you interview and they look at the track record and they want to know what is it that you know about the party and local governance in particular. And that's how I managed to actually be number one on both lists. And then I now had to choose between the two to say, okay, which one do I want? And it was now because of, okay, this one will give me more exposure and growth, and of course the money as well, because I'm still young. So all I'm willing to say is that the hard work that I've put in before I could leave, in terms of being affiliated and being practical in organization that I've chose and being dedicated to that particular structure, is what made me to be a PR counselor. And not just any PR counselor, the youngest in that particular matter, the youngest in Sidibeng. I think I'm the second or third youngest in the entire province. And that happened because I knew that I need to put myself in the mud and work hard so that I may be able to get something that would make me someone better, or make me someone that would actually service our people at a larger scale. Thank you very much.
Ooh, those are interesting factors that you're throwing at us. We very, very much appreciate your inputs. Now I'm going to direct these questions to Mr. KARABO. The first question says, work politics in the education department, particularly in the school, have negative impacts not only on the classroom dynamics. What could be the negative impacts of bad work politics in the social life of learners? That's the first question, sir.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Okay, so now I am going to go back on what I've said on, okay, as a teacher, like I said, you are a role model. Ne? So now, as a role model to these kids, to these hopeful individuals, they look up to you and they tend to, like, they are kids, and you know with kids, they look at you and they do exactly what you do. So now remember, so now if you are going to teach kids that you guys are fighting, for example, let's say you guys are having a meeting and you guys are fighting, you can't solve your problems, kids tend to take that. And because Mr. MASHILOANE is doing it, it means it's correct. Do you understand? So when they go outside classroom, they go outside the school premises, they're going to fight. Do you understand? Because Mr. KARABO as their, what you call, Mr. KARABO as their role model has done it. It means it's okay. It means that it's right. So now it affects learners in a negative way, and it goes a long way towards, even when they get home, they are like, okay, now because Mr. KARABO did it, that means that it's okay to do it. I'm going to fight with my students. I am not going to stop, regardless whether we're in a primary school or in a secondary school. It's just a situation of them taking what they have seen from teachers and what they've seen from everyone in the workplace, then they practice that at home. So yeah, that's what I can say about that.
And another question for you, Mr. MASHILOANE. It reads as follows. If you want to work at Department of Education as subject advisor, what are the requirements in terms of experience and qualifications?
Okay, with that, as I mentioned before, that with our system, if I can say, with our system in the education department, your qualifications. It's good that you have your qualifications there because it's just a cherry on top for the Department of Education. But then, as MASHILOANE, who did geography at varsity, fine. Then I started teaching geography for 5 years. Did I produce good marks? If I produce good marks, it means that I am equipped with the subject. And if I am equipped with the subject, then I can be a subject advisor. Because we can't take someone who is producing bad marks to be a subject advisor. How can that happen? Do you understand? So now it goes with you being experienced in that subject that you want to be the advisor for. It goes with how many years experience that you have in that subject. Are you teaching the subject? Are you qualified to teach that subject? For example, I think everyone knows this, or mostly our students or peer students and everything, you know, this, that you might be doing this subject, majoring with this subject back in university, but when you get to the workplace, they give you a totally different subject from what you did. Take, for instance, myself, I majored in mathematics and geography, but then now I am teaching NSTech, which is natural science and technology. It's not there on the economic record. It's not there. I did not do it. I did not measure with it, but then I am teaching it. Because I need an employment, I'm going to do it. Now, it goes to saying, okay, it means that I can teach anything because now MASHILOANE is teaching natural science and he did not measure with natural science. But it's not like that. Anyone can teach a content, but then now, are you qualified to teach a content? Can you deliver the content to learners, which is what I learned these 4 years. You understand? So yeah, for you to be a subject advisor, you need to be experienced in that subject that you want to be the subject advisor for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question, and then we'll be able to close it off for Mr. Nkosi. The question is what is your take on the internship programs? Young people spend a year or two, then be unemployed.
You know, Patrick, the reality of unemployment, it's a very disturbing factor and personal to that effect, because individuals that are looking for employment, most of them, it's because they want to change their lives and the lives of those around them. And I can tell you now, every time when I have a council sitting, I think those who are close to me would tell you that is the worst time ever, because you'd find that I've got an agenda that is like 1,002 pages, 1,200 pages. And of that agenda, there are so many mistakes that even a grade 9 learner would not do. So it just goes to show you that, especially in our public institutions, we've got people who have been there because of deployment. But in terms of the competency, they are not able. You know, we've got people that you'd find that this person is the manager in the finance department. But when you look in terms of the skills audit, this person is not even qualified to do that particular job. That is why it becomes a problem for the internships to materialize in recruiting young people into the spaces of work. Because remember, I come there with my degree, whether it's in public administration. Already I'm a threat to this particular individual because this person is a manager but does not have any form of qualification. I don't want to say names as well. I know a few years back we attended at varsity with another individual. He was late 40s at the time, but he was already manager in one of the institutions, and he was only doing his first degree. So you can then ask yourself, Uguti, why are we facing a challenge of people who are not being hired while they are competent? And the answer is very simple. It's because those who do the hiring and firing, themselves do not have the necessary qualifications to advance these institutions. Go everywhere, Patrick. You can go national, you can go provincial, you can go local. Majority of the people in those spaces, they are not qualified. I think that it's time, as young people, we stand up. It's time that we claim our own country. It's time that we get into politics as young as we are, those who are qualified. And this is a call in each and every space that I find myself into. I make this call that young, educated individuals, let us get straight into politics. Let us be the branch chairpersons so that initially we end up being in these institutions and our country will be much, much better. The likes of KARABO, I know he was in leadership when he was still in varsity. But most of them, once they get to employment, they are not participating in terms of the teachers' union. They allow thugs to lead them, people who don't even have the interest of the student at heart, but they are playing politics in schools so that our children do not finish. So it's time that as young people, we stand up and we are fighting the system that is oppressing us every day. It's unfortunate. Me as Duncan alone or the two of us in council, we can make as much noise as we want. But if our vote does not carry us through to a decision being made, we are just wasting our time. So in order for us to see those internships materializing and our people getting jobs, young people need to own up the space by fire, by force. And we need to stop being, how do you put it? Not robust about it. We become so gentleman and a lady about it. No, we need to take what belongs to us, because when we inherit this country, we are going to inherit a country that is rotten to the core. And us as the young people will be the ones who are living in it. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duncan and Mr. KARABO. The mantra or the message that you are conveying to us holds so much strong substance, and what is fascinating about it is that it is relevant to our times, whether as an undergraduate or as a person who's seeking for employment. And for that, I really, really do thank you. I would like to proceed to the last segment of the theology faculty. And if you could please do kindly stay in so that we could be able to see if you can be able to get questions at the end of the webinar. But for now, we have to go to our next speaker. I would like to introduce to you our second and last speaker, THATOM BOWENI from the Theology faculty. Sir, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can see me because I can't see myself. As introduced, my name is THATOM BOWENI, and I'm going to divide my talk into 3 segments. The first segment will be challenges that I faced before going to school, as I was preparing to go to school. The second segment would be challenges that I faced in school. And the last will be challenges that I am facing in the professional field. I joined ministry. Went to school to study in 2013, fresh out of my matric year, the previous year, which was 2012. And the first challenge that you face as you join ministry is doubt that is cast by family members to say, of all the career opportunities that your marks have presented to you, why would you choose to go and study theology, And to an average parent, when you tell them you're going to pursue studies in being a pastor, they do not perceive theology as an academic course. So she just thought that, no, this one is just lazy to study. He wants to go read the Bible for 6 months and then to come in and preach this side. So it was the doubt that was cast by parents. Secondly, I have never been I had never been to a boarding school any time before going to my varsity. So it was a difficult transition that I had to go through, in that I had to leave home, not only leave home, I had to leave the country, going to a country which by perception we were told that it is the poorest of the poor, inhabitable, and that was Zimbabwe. So I went there, and on the way to Zimbabwe, which is about a 16-hour drive from Park Station to Bulawayo, we were with fellow pastors there who would talk about the experience of how school is that side. And then you get to envision a heaven kind of a place, because you're going to a place that will be populated by qualified pastors, pastors of your same age, pastors who are there to study like you. When you get there, it is nothing that you had envisioned, you see now. And you have to deal with certain challenges of viewing yourself through the lenses of other people. By that, I mean specifically that I then was confronted with my first challenge in school, where I was made to doubt my own call as a pastor, to say, was I really called into the ministry? And what led to that was the stories that people will tell you that God came to them while they were sleeping, and he called them to the ministry. And I, at the time, could not even separate what would be my own thoughts and what would be that which God communicates to me. So I doubted my call. And what made it worse was that I couldn't even stay there for long on my first semester. I had skin irritation, eczema. So the heat that side was too much for me to bear. So I had blisters all over and all that. So I had to come back home for medical treatment. So all that back and forth that happened really discouraged me from continuing. As if that was enough, when I then came back to school, and as I was crossing Beit Bridge, I was not educated that when you are given 30 days to be in a country and you leave before the 30 days lapse, when you come back again, you have to renew the days again, which I didn't do. Then I was fined about $100, which at the time was $1,000. So that already discouraged me. Anyway, to cut the long story short, we then went through school, and when we came into the field, you are faced with three challenges. The first of which, your age works against you. And in the organization for which I'm working, I am the youngest in terms of age, youngest employed pastor. So you have elders who are working in the church who have no confidence in you whatsoever. Secondly, being young, you come as an unmarried person, you're not married. And now the greatest of challenges that you face is that you are put on a pedestal. In as much as they understand that you are human, they do not want to come to terms with the reality of what it entails for you to be human. By that I mean, they expect you to be married, but they do not want to bring themselves to an understanding of the process through which you need to go. For you to be married, you need to be dating, you need to be going out with a person here and there, and seeing you is tantamount to a sin, seeing you with a girl. So that, plus elders doubting your age, and then you have senior pastors who then think that because you are young, you don't know how to do whatever is expected of you to do. That then sort of hinders you from doing your work as expected to do. But my core focus on what I want to talk about is education. When we go to school, there are about 4 reasons, according to the United Nations, as they talk about the pillars of education. There should be 4 reasons that take you to school. The first reason should be that you go to school because you want to know. So the first pillar of education is learning to know. Then once you have learned to know, you then move to the second pillar of education, which then states that you need to learn how to be. This is where we apply this motto that is known by everyone that goes, I am because you are, something of that sort. And then the third reason is that you need to learn how to learn, meaning as you go through school, normalize de-doctrinating yourself of what you think you know, to allow yourself space for that which you went to school for. And the last one is learning how to live with others. And this one simply says, in your education should not divorce you from the society for which you are educated. It goes back to that saying that says it takes a village to raise a child. It is for that same reason that once you have been educated, your education should benefit the society in which you are going to live. And this then answers one of the questions that were asked, to say, since educational development is one of my passions, how do I then comment on that in as far as marrying theory into practice is concerned? So one challenge we are often exposed to as young pastors who have studied ancient languages like your Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, we are so much sometimes consumed in sounding intelligent that we detach ourselves from people we need to be making sense to. In other words, people will now be preaching, and in their preaching, they will be violating simple and basic rules of homiletics. You know, one of my lecturers in school always used to say, when Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the emperors of, sorry?
Apologies to interject with you. Can I just cut you there for a second? May I please allow the other speaker to talk so that we can be able to give them enough time for you to actually narrow the time, guys. So
Okay.
I'll get back to you after she has spoken. Thank you very much, sir. It's Nantlanta.
Hello?
Are you ready? Could you please have the floor?
Thank you. I'd like to start by greeting everyone. Sorry, let me just get my video going. Hi everyone. So like you guys have heard, my name is Nkosi Mazibuko. I'll be talking from the perspective of alumni from the theology department on the Vaal campus specifically, because the theology that we have on the Vaal campus is very different from the theology that we have on the Potchefstroom campus. Our campus specifically caters to a very small class. So we're talking everybody that's doing pastoral psychology. And that's it. It's just that small class of 23 people that you probably have, and that is what makes the Faculty of Theology. So I only have 5 minutes, so I'm gonna try and wrap up everything that I wanted to say, and try and answer as many questions as possible. A lot of people are kind of concerned about the career paths, because obviously when you go to university, that's the one thing that you actually want to do. You want to know, what job can I get now that I've done this? Where can I go? This is basically answered most of the time during orientation. So you're always told you can go into PGCE, you can become a teacher. A lot of people that were doing the course when I was doing it wanted to be teachers, right? So they wanted to be educators and they couldn't get in that side. So they were placed in pastoral guidance. And the only reason they anywhere near the Bible class is because they have to, because they need to pass so they can become teachers. So that's the one option. And then the next option is to be a psychologist, because obviously it's pastoral psychology. So psychology is also a very major part of the degree. And then the unpopular choice is to pursue theology. So to continue down the biblical pathway, which is the path that I chose personally. I think one of the most challenging things about having pastoral guidance in psychology specifically, I can't speak to theology because I didn't do theology undergrad. There was never a point where we were just solely doing theology and learning the books of the Bible and, you know, just studying doctrine. Instead, we were, as you guys would know, doing pastoral guidance in psychology, we study the Bible as a scholarly text, you know, and that's something, it's kind of bizarre when somebody says it, like, what do you mean you're studying the Bible as a scholarly text? But yeah, so we study the Bible as a scholarly text and we never really get into doctrine. We never really get into theology. And then when you go to your honors, then only you kind of introduced to this concept of, oh, by the way, there's doctrine and you need to understand doctrine like this. You need to understand that there's the doctrine of God, there's the doctrine of the Spirit. But usually if you're coming straight from pastoral guidance, then you sit in class with pastors. So you have qualified pastors and they have gone through the training. So they have gone through the whole learning of the doctrines, the learning, and all you've done thus far until that point is to learn it as a scholarly text. So one of the challenges that I've faced personally going from pastoral guidance into theology honors is that it's harder for me than for my other classmates because I'm starting from scratch, whereas they're building on top of the foundation that they already had, right? So that's just one of the challenges that I've faced. One of the major differences between psychology, just studying pure psychology, and pastoral psychology is that you get to study the Bible, I guess, especially when you're doing it on the Val Triangle campus. So I don't think we have a pure psychology degree. I might be wrong, but in my generation, we had your psychology and sociology, which they were deemed the psychology students. And then you had pastoral psychology and every other psychology within the same class. So essentially you guys are getting the same knowledge. When we all sitting down in a psychology class, we all get the same knowledge. So there's not really much of a difference between someone who's doing sociology and psychology and someone who's doing pastoral psychology, apart from the fact that the social psychology person can go into social work and you can't. You can go into theology. Advantages and disadvantages. Okay, I think I've mentioned a few, which is that you don't really get the theological aspect of it in the undergrad level of pastoral guidance. You don't get the doctrine of the whole thing. But, sorry, but as you progress or as you go into honors, you start going into the theology. I'm so sorry, guys, like I have to just pause. Guys, please get out of the kitchen. Naras. Sorry, I'm at home, so there's no room where there's no person. I have to work with what I have. Anyway, I think one of the things I want to talk about that kind of affected me the most this year as a graduate from the specific faculty, or a graduate in general, and something that I wished that people would have spoken about that we never really hear about, you know, like when we all go into university, we all hoping to get a job, or at least that's the goal. You know, at some point you want to get a job, but it's not always your dream. You know, you don't just wake up and say, I want to be a pastoral psychologist. And that's what I've noticed with a lot of people pursuing this degree. Like, you're there because you had to be there. I just want to encourage you and say, you know what? Get up, do it. You know, so many people kind of throw opportunities away because they have the opportunity, but they don't want the opportunity. So you sulk your way through undergrad, and then you get through that and you realize, oh wait, what now? You know, there's no job. Unlike someone who's doing education, you know, I can come out and say, I want to be a teacher and I'm going to be a teacher. You can't come out from pastoral guidance and say, I want to be a pastoral guider. You know, it's going to be like, what are you talking about? So that being, you need to always put your best foot forward. Don't sabotage yourself by not giving your best in every situation. This includes every single module that you're going to do, like even the one that you hate the most. I know most people do not like Bible studies, so even that one, put your best foot forward, because you never know what opportunity is going to come from that. So there's a scripture that comes to mind, and it basically says, whatever your hands find it to do, do it with might. You know, the Bible is like full of references for going out there and doing it. Don't just sit down and think opportunities are going to come to you. Mr. Duncan said he thought when he came back, things were just, you know, people are going to headhunt him. In this economy, no one is headhunting anyone, you know, unless you stick out. You have to always strive to be the best wherever you are. And sometimes the best is not necessarily getting the highest marks or always being on top. Sometimes the best just means preparing for class. Sometimes the best means always being prepared for whatever that's coming and showing whoever that is in front of you that, you know what, I got this, you know, I'm ready. So that's my advice to young people coming up. I'm still young, so anyway, to people coming up, always put your best foot forward. And after graduation, for those of you that are in third year, it's gonna be rough because there's a lot of expectations, especially I think if you come from an economic background like mine, there's a lot of expectations. Everyone is expecting something. And even when nobody's expecting something, you are expecting something. You know, it's almost like once you know that you're done, you expect to see yourself somewhere. You expect to be at a higher level. You're expecting yourself to be more than just a student. So I'm doing the honors right now. And it almost feels like, why am I still a student? Why am I stuck? But I just want to say, when you find yourself in that place, remember why you started. You know, remember why you're doing this in the first place. Remember that you didn't just do this because, you know, just because you did this because there was a reason. You know, there was a fire. Don't let that fire die because of the economic status of the country or because of where we find ourselves as a country. If you find yourself sitting at home without a job, then be proactive. Be the change you want to see. Go out there. You know, you don't live in an island. You live eKasi or emakaya or in a suburb or wherever you live somewhere. You don't live in like you don't live on an island alone with no people surrounding you. So there's always someone to influence. There's always something to do. Go out there and find something for your hands to do. And once you find it, do it with might. Yeah, I think my time is up. I've probably already overstayed my welcome. So I'll just hand over to the floor.
Thank you very much, Nonhlanhla. Please do allow me to give the floor to DK.
Thank you everyone for attending. We are running out of time because the webinar is just supposed to be for 1 hour, 30 minutes. So that's why we had to cut Mr. BOWENI and also Nonhlanhla because I know her presentation was much longer, but we really do appreciate your efforts. I would just like to thank everyone who attended, everyone who participated, and all the speakers, all of you taking your time out of your busy schedules and personal schedules means a lot to us. hope this session was enriching and beneficial to everyone, and that at least someone took a seed that they're going to plow for the rest of their lives. We as GK would like to thank you for your participation, for attending, and for everyone who made this possible. Your efforts are seen, your efforts are appreciated, and we really want to thank you for that.